Welcome into the channel, everybody. Today's video is about Hera Yellow, a Hera Cunning deck that I've been having a blast with. I've made a ton of changes throughout this deck's life, but there's some core concepts in this deck that I'm going to go over here. And, if you're missing some of these cards, you can spice it up and do some other things, but the core concept is there. We're focused on two things here. We're focused on vehicles and early drops that we can bounce in and out of our hands. So that's kind of the main focus. So let me go through the deck real quick, and I'll kind of talk about each of the cards and what their purpose is. But obviously I'm playing Hera, who's going to give us access to Spectre cards, but I'm actually only running the Ghost. I've tried Carabast in here as well. I've tried Kanan. They're all fine, just don't fit exactly what we're doing. And also Spark of Rebellion you could totally put in here. It would definitely make the side deck if I had one here as well. But so that's kind of where I'm at with Hera. So let's talk about the early cards. We got Alliance Disruptor, Bail Organa, and the Smuggling Compartment, which is a weird one, but goes well with the Falcon. So essentially, Alliance Dispatcher is good to help us get out Bright Hope or Strafing Gunship, or ideally Wedge a turn early. But Strafing Gunship's the best play from that, because turn one you can play Alliance Dispatcher. You have 2 resources. You go to 3 resources, and then you could bring out the Strafing Gunship and start kind of nuking the ground from space, which is one of my favorite cards. Then we got Bail Organa, Smuggling Compartment. Then we have the Hardpoint Heavy Blaster, Leia, and I'll stop there for a second. So Leia is probably my favorite 2-drop in the game. She on play either readies a resource or exhausts an enemy unit or a unit, which is great. There's a lot of synergy here with bouncing that Leia back to our hand with either Bright Hope or the Pirated Starfighter, or bringing Leia back into play with Home 1. All those things are really, really solid, and getting her out lets you consistently exhaust their big targets, but you will eventually have to deal with them, which hopefully we have an answer for later. Continuing with this, now, we have these 3 ground units. We're going to go into space heavy here. We're going to have Vanguard Ace, Pirated Starfighter, and Alliance X-Wing all as 2-drops. Since we're going to be able to cycle and have a lot of 1-cost things, the Vanguard Ace is actually really fun to get a high-statted unit on the board. You can give it experience tokens when it's played. It's a 1/1, but you'll gain some experience when it's played, so you want to return a few things to your hand and then play this and get some even just 2 experience tokens is worth it. You get a 3/3 in space is good, but if you can get 3, a 4/4 in space is even better. Then we have Akbar. Restore 1 when played. You can deal some damage to a unit in a different arena, depending on how many cards you have in your own arena. Really solid card. Really good to bounce back to your hand, so you can get that when played effect. Then we have Strike True, Millennium Falcon, and Outmaneuver. So Strike True is our good removal tool. It allows us to attack, or not attack, but deal damage equal to the attack on a unit to another unit. So we can hit essentially with the Ghost or Home 1 to kill a big threat. Then the Falcon is, again, we're sticking into the heavy space theme here toward the end of the deck. The Falcon is great at essentially sticking on the board, being ready as soon as he comes out, dealing 3 damage, and then being able to keep him on the board just by spending 1 resource each turn. But he's a 3/4, he's overstated, he comes in ready, so he's quick and he's solid. And then we're sticking with Outmaneuver, which is obviously we're playing most of a space deck here, and Outmaneuver is choose an arena and exhaust all units in that arena. So if we have all our units in space and we exhaust all of the ground, fantastic. So I'm going a little quick because I'm skipping over a few of the key synergies because I'm going to get to them now. But Strafing Gunship is a 3/4 who can attack ground units from space, and when he does, they get -2, -0, so they get less attack to deal back, which is great. This card with the Hardpoint Blaster is one of my favorite combos in the game. So Hardpoint Blaster is a 2-cost attached to a vehicle +2/+2 upgrade, but it has attached unit gains on attack. If this unit isn't attacking a base, you can deal 2 damage to a unit in the defender's arena. So with the Strafing Gunship, this essentially allows you either attack someone in space, and you get the Strafing Gunship's a 5/6 at this point, and then deal 2 damage to either the defender or a different unit in space. Or if you're attacking ground with the Strafing Gunship, then when you're attacking ground, you can do the same thing. You can either deal 7 to one target on the ground, or you can deal 5 to a target and 2 to a different target while taking less damage back. Such a fun combo. It's literally one of my favorite things I can do in this game. I think it's an absolute blast. Strafing Gunship's really fun for that. Heavy Point Blaster is also just good on like Bright Hope because it's a 6 health unit, so it can just stay alive, consistently get damage. But it's also fine. Anything with a big health pool, it's good on because you just get the +2 damage, and if you're not attacking a base, you can get that extra value. If you are attacking a base, okay, you got +2 damage to it. But it's just a really fun card to play with some of these units, especially Strafing. That's your main goal here. And then we move to the end game stuff. We have Wedge, the Ghost, and Home 1. The Wedge and Ghost, they're so fun together. So turn 6, Hera comes out, and she's a 4/6, and she on attack gives an experience token to a unique unit. So Wedge gives ambush to your vehicles and +1/+1. Clearly, we have a lot of vehicles, and we could even jam more. And I've tried the snow speeders. I've tried other things as well. But Wedge will give everyone +1/+1, but also ambush. So if you play Wedge 5, going into turn 6, you can bring out Hera and drop the Ghost, and the Ghost will on play give a shield to Hera. And then if you have Wedge still alive at that point, which isn't always going to happen, but if you can, you will then be able to attack with the Ghost with ambush as a 6/6. It's shielded, so it can kill whatever space thing they have out, and on attack give a second shield to Hera. That play right there is a really, really good way to get Hera to just stick to the board hard, and she's super fun when she does stick to the board, because then you can continuously, on her attack, give the Ghost +1, so you can get a huge space unit that has shields, and just keep that thing alive, or give Wedge to keep that alive, or Bright Hope, or Falcon, or Home 1, etc. Our big finisher is Home 1. Restore 2. Each other unit gains Restore 1, and when played, you can play a light side card for 3 or less from your discard pile. Again, you can bring back Leia Organa, which is great. You'll get to exhaust one of their big units. That's one of the biggest plays. You can bring back Akbar, which is great. There's a lot of cool things you could bring back. That's really, really solid. And of course, you could also bring back the Vanguard Ace, which is cool. You could get additional things if you played, but it's an 8 cost card, so you're probably not going to bring that back. But there's some really cool cards that you could play with Home 1, and he's a big space finisher, 7/7, hard to deal with. Lets you stabilize against some mid-rangey decks if they were really pushing your base. You can get a lot of restore going, so that's good. So I do want to talk for a second about extra cards that haven't made this version of the deck, but that I've definitely tried and definitely might need to make the version of the deck. I'm really iterating on this one hard because I'm really enjoying Hera Yellow. I also want to try Hera Command and just do green green. But let me say some cards that I think deserve an honorable mention here in this slot. For one, like I said, Carabast already was interesting, and Spark of Rebellion, looking at opponent's hand and discarding a card. Both really powerful cards. Carabast, I felt like I didn't need that extra removal when I had Leia, Akbar, Strike True, so that got cut. Spark of Rebellion, I think just depending on your matchup, you probably want that. Into control to pick off some of the really good pieces, you want Spark of Rebellion. Also, U-Wing Reinforcement, crazy good card. Fits really well in this deck. Probably should be in this version. I'm not sure over what. Maybe Smuggling Compartment. And I forgot to touch on Smuggling Compartment, which I'll do in a second. But it's really, really good because you can bring out the Falcon, who will be ready. You can bring out Leia, who will exhaust something. You can bring out Admiral Akbar, who can hit somebody. You just can't really bring out Home 1. Anything else you could technically bring out, but there's some really, really good targets for U-Wing Reinforcement. Really good card. Real quick, just to touch on Smuggling Compartment, it's attached to a vehicle, it gives them +1/+1, and it gives them on attack, ready, or resource. Kind of helps you make up for Falcon's ability. So if you're running Falcon, I think this card's pretty cool. Again, it's attached to a vehicle, so if you're running Falcon in a deck that doesn't have a lot of vehicles, you don't want to run this card. It's not that great. In this deck, it's kind of interesting because even if you don't see Falcon, you could still give it to somebody else, and that could help you really play out a good bit of units. And you have a good bit of draw. I mean, with Bright Hope letting you draw a card anytime you return a card is pretty cool. So you have that ability. So you will have a decent amount of draw going, which can help you, kind of get a lot of cards to play, which Smuggling Department can then give you some extra resources to manage some of that. Let me think. I think that's about it. I mean, those are definitely good. Oh, the other big one is the militia guy, who's a 3/4 sentinel. If you have 6 or more resources, he's great because he can be played with U-Wing Reinforcement if you had that, but also just played as a sentinel in ground. Since we're not running a whole lot of ground here, our big play is outmaneuver or kill everything on the ground with like Strike True and the Strafing Gunship. That's how we kind of settle the ground down. But you still sometimes will just need a sentinel on the ground, and that's what he will do. So I think all those cards are cards I'd throw into the side deck here. Maybe a little bit more anti-aggro tech, but we're not terrible in the aggro. Like Leia's a really, really good card to slow down, and then she can typically trade, so she's solid into aggro. We have plenty of space answers on that side. And then again, Strafing Gunship can just wreak havoc from above and make sure the ground units are dying, which is great. And Admiral Akbar can come out, hit 2 damage or 1 damage or 3 damage on a unit. So it's not a terrible deck into aggro, actually. But I still think there's some key cards you could put on the side to help your matchup even more. That's the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you give this deck a try, tweak it, try a few different cards that I mentioned. I posted this deck on Twitter and it seemed like people were pretty interested in it. It's definitely something different and fun to play. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And let me know what you tweak. Let me know what you add. Let me know what you think is working into it. I love building decks with the community. So let me know how that goes. And that's it, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.